show ID to vote. It is a hot issue. It is certainly something that is being talked about here in central Massachusetts because of what happened in Southbridge. And May 10th, by the way, is when that special election comes. And I'm sure that you'll be there at the poll along with a whole lot of people. That could be very, very interesting.
You cannot overwhelm a poll place. You know, when you are a poll watcher, your job is to watch. It's not to put so many people there that people can't move. But we'll be in Spencer, we'll be in Southbridge, we'll be in Waltham.
By the way, I mean, have you had poll watchers in other communities besides Southbridge?
On the special or on the primary, we had all for Jim Dixon's race in the 10th Middlesex. We had poll watchers
Problems
there.
from town clerks or complaints from town clerks? No, just in Southbridge.
Just in Southbridge.
Interesting. I wanted to go back, though, to this issue because it seems to me that if Tom, you came at it as show ID to vote, you get a lot of people who will say, you know,
Makes
all right,
sense.
that sounds reasonable. Again, I don't see it, you know, maybe it's not as much a left or right issue. It's just, hey, it makes sense to me. Or you go, I don't think the system's broken. You know, why, you know, so what is it that they're trying to fix? But this idea, as I was reading the website about it being a privilege to vote, it is our right here in America to vote. You're 18 years of old. You're a registered voter. It is your right to go out to vote. It seemed, as I read on the website, that you're trying at least to say something different. You acknowledge the fact that, yes, it is a right, but that you really want to start a conversation about who should vote in America.
Well, not necessarily who, but when you go vote, I've pointed out, if somebody comes and votes in my place and steals my vote, okay, is that fraud? Yes, it is. Well, what if I go to the voting booth and I have no idea what's on the ballot or who's running and I just pick a name? We got people dying to preserve this freedom, and the least we can do as citizens is to get involved and to understand and show I deserve to vote. What's happening? Who's running? What do they stand for? We won't agree with everything that everybody stands for. That's fine. But get involved.
But are we giving an IQ test now?
No.
Are we giving some sort of a test that says, you know, name the 3 candidates who might be on the ballot? I mean, how would you determine?
No. This is something inside. This is something when we understood civics. We understood that it was a duty. When you vote, that's one of our duties to keep this republic going, is to vote in people and to have the discourse and to be able to have the conversations and if you will, the fights on Beacon Hill and down in the Capitol. That's one of our duties, is to vote those people in. It's a representative republic.
But the story that was coming out of Southbridge was that people who were mentally handicapped or people who clearly English was not their first language, that these were the people who were being challenged. I mean, is that part of what you are telling poll watchers to watch for, that somebody... and let me give the other example then, because it seemed, and this was Empower Massachusetts, which different from show ID to vote.
Different from show ID.
Can you tell me a little bit about how they're different? You both want to show ID to vote, but different organizations.
Yeah, different organizations. I know the people at Empower Massachusetts, good bunch of people. We are reaching out more nationwide, so we've read a lot of the legislation coming out of Kansas and Texas and this and that, so that we can compare what other states are doing to what we're doing. Because that's another nice thing about a representative republic. You have all these experiments going, like 50 of them, on how to best vote.
This seemed to me to be Kristen Varley's point, and it seemed to be one that was maybe worth debating. Her point seemed to be that you would have groups, perhaps a large group in our area would be neighbor to neighbor. You go out, you get people to sign up to vote. You register them to vote. Then you come, you put them all in the van or whatever and say, you know, now you register to vote on such and such a date. We're going to come by. We're going to pick you up. We're going to bring you out to vote. And this comes back to what you were saying about, does everybody understand who they're voting for? I got the impression from Kristen Varley that she questioned whether some people who showed up at the polls understood who they were voting for or why they were voting for that particular person. Or I guess the intimation was that they had been told to. And then it came to some of these challenges for people who were mentally handicapped, and it seemed as if the intimation there was well, how can this person possibly understand what's going on, who to vote for?
You've got me at a loss because I don't know what the 24 challenges were.
Right. And I don't either. I mean, that was just what was said in the paper.
And I do know, and I've seen, I was in Lawrence and I was in Lowell during the November elections. There are people that come in that have no idea who they're voting for. Can you challenge them for that? No, you can't. You can challenge them if their name is not on the voting rolls. You can challenge them if they reach in their pocket and they don't know where they live. Those are all purpose things.
Right.
People are saying intimidation. If there was intimidation, the police on the day of the election should have been notified. The town clerk or the warden should have been done. But intimidation's also got other names too. Manipulation, that could be, you know, if you've a mentally handicapped person, you can manipulate them to doing something that they don't want to do.
Right, so you wouldn't challenge somebody just because they were developmentally disabled?
No.
Or someone who was 91 years old comes walking in and their son's bringing them in?
My grandfather and grandmother both died when they were 96, so and they were sharp as a tack. Yeah. So you had to help them get to the polls, but they knew exactly how to punch out the pregnant Chad, and they made sure the Chad was off the ballot.
So when you, what's sort of the feedback that you're getting right now? Because obviously this was sort of some negative publicity, but it's interesting what you bring up about the intimidation. Did your group, you don't look like a guy who's easily intimidated, but did your group feel that there was some intimidation before this special election coming from the town clerk and the town manager, for example, saying, hey, we have to check out this group, we think that this group might have some sort of sinister intent, you know, and that they weren't too sure about you and weren't sure if they were going to allow you to be around?
Well, we've had discussions with Secretary Galvin's office. The law says you can have poll observers in. They can challenge. The Democrat Party's been very good at having poll observers, and for years and years, and they take the list, and at 2 o'clock, it goes out, and they start making phone calls. Who didn't? It's called get out the vote. It happens all the time. Now, nothing stops them from challenging somebody that they don't think should vote. They're poll observers. They're doing a get out the vote thing. That's allowed. That's part of the rules. That's part of being a representative republic.
Tom, we got 30 seconds left. What would you like to see happen on May 10th? And do you expect there to be some trouble down in Southbridge or in
I don't
race?
expect any trouble. We're holding training classes in Sturbridge. We're doing them in Worcester. I don't expect our groups to have any trouble. We are looking. We want to make sure the integrity of the vote is there. That's it. We hope that people sign petitions. They're non-binding. Get word to your representatives. We ought to show a government-issued, state-issued. I prefer state, not federal. I prefer a state-issued photo ID. I think it's good. 99.9% of all of us have it, and we can fix the other 0.1%, so there's no issue.
Tom, thanks for coming by, telling us about Show ID to Vote, and we'll check in with you after the election.
And make sure you show your ID. It is voluntary. That's
voluntary.
It's voluntary. Please show how much quicker it goes. And one other thing, it's very difficult for people to challenge anybody because you might have the wrong color shirt on. But if everybody has to show it, there's no issue with challenging because there is no challenging. Everybody has to show your ID. It makes it so much simpler.
Tom, thank you.
Thank you.
Much more to come right here on the